In 17th century Japan, the great haiku poet Basho wrote, "Do not seek to follow in the footsteps of the men of old. Seek what they sought." He was born into an already ancient culture where both Shinto and Buddhist philosophies permeated his world. In the 9th century, a legendary scholar, Kukai, brought Buddhist sutras back from China, then created a monastic community atop Mount Koya. He went on to create a magical perimeter around the island of Shikoku, composed of 88 temples. This 800-mile-long chain of temples is now a well-established pilgrimage tradition.
Now, a pilgrim, of course, is on a journey with a purpose, not just wandering idly. A pilgrimage can be to a place or for a thing, and mine happens to be for a thing.
This documentary was born toward the end of the Shikoku pilgrimage after more than 3 decades of training in Japan. It was inspired by a Zen tradition that understands the importance of emptiness and the power of paradox. In this tradition, riddle is used as a vehicle of the mind.
After 30 years of living in Japan, I decided to undertake a 1,300-kilometer pilgrimage, the traditional Buddhist pilgrimage around the island of Shikoku. I suppose I hoped that it would be a kind of a magic pill that would give me some kind of inner understanding, harmony maybe, peace. But that really wasn't the result. I ended up more keenly aware than ever that the world around us is spiraling into chaos. It came to me during the pilgrimage that perhaps all of these global problems that we're now facing represent some kind of a gigantic riddle that is for all of us on earth to solve right now. And like any riddle, you can't solve it quickly and easily. You need to change your perspective to look at it from an entirely different way.
As Einstein said, we cannot solve a problem from the same mental level that created it. And so we must seek answers from a different perspective.
To answer any riddle, we do have to change our perspective. And so I set out on a much more wide-ranging pilgrimage in order to gain an individual, a personal understanding about this riddle, which would hopefully help me to deal with the increasing peril that we see all around us in the world today.
After 200 to 300 years of industrialization and technology, is that somehow in the process of creating the illusion of physical and material safety, we've created a kind of monstrous society which has almost completely severed its connections to the spiritual roots of all being.
The pilgrimage in Shikoku left me with a strong feeling that perhaps what we really need most of all is an evolution, both at the individual and at the collective level, without which it might be very difficult for us to actually proceed at all. Within this chaos that we're all faced with, the planet will inevitably change, and we will have to change with it. This demands of all of us an inner journey. Who best represents such an inner journey but the pilgrim?
I finished counting the 25,000 miles toward the end of 1964. I have not counted miles since then. However, I will say that the real turning point in my life came 15 years prior to that, about 43 years ago, when I came out of my empty life of money and things and began to live to give instead of to get. Oh, it was just the most wonderful change in my life. My life just blossomed out. Long after I had finished the physical growing up and I had finished the mental growing up, I began the spiritual growing up, which takes you from the self-centered life into the life where you see yourself in proper perspective as part of the whole and work for the good of the whole. It was doing that growing and finding inner peace that prepared me for the pilgrimage that I walk today.
And the attitude of pilgrim is that all conditions, all situations, all encounters are there as a learning opportunity. There are no encounters, no hardships, no difficulties to be avoided or discarded or be afraid of. All opportunities, negative or positive, comfortable or uncomfortable, present themselves as an opportunity for self-realization, opportunity for learning, an opportunity for self-purification, an opportunity for the strengthening of the soul, the strengthening of the spirit, because only through rough and difficulties and hardships that you develop your character.
Rumi was a Sufi poet of the 13th century. He was a well-respected teacher with many disciples in Persia.